and welcome to the latest instalment in my new Bass Lick of the Week series. Now before we dive into the line itself, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, let's take a look at this week's bass lick. We're going to be playing a line using the fingerstyle technique this week, and we're going to be playing over an A7 chord. And what we're going to do first of all is think about the notes in an A7 chord, an A dominant 7th chord, because these notes are going to feature very, very heavily in this bass line. So A7 is comprised of root note A, we have a major third which is the C sharp, so A, C sharp, the 5th is going to be E, and the minor 7th is the G. So A, C sharp, E and G, and those notes are going to feature very heavily in this bass line. Okay, so we're going to be opening up the first bar with this figure. Let's hear that again. Okay, let's break down what's happening here. This is an important figure. It's going to be used quite frequently in this line. We're playing the open A string on beat 1, and then we're going to come in with a hammer-on between the C natural and the C sharp. And that idea of using a hammer-on, or not necessarily a hammer-on, but a move from the minor third into the major third, as we have here, the minor third being the C, major third being the C sharp. That move from the minor third to the major third over a dominant chord is something that's very, very common, particularly in funk lines. We're then going to play, we're going to move up onto the D and G strings and play the E and the A, both at the 2nd fret. Now in terms of fingering, you can use either your 2nd or 3rd finger for the C natural. 4th finger for the C sharp is what I would recommend. And then your 1st finger is going to be in position for the E and the A. That's our opening figure, and it's important to spend a bit of time with that and just get comfortable with it. Now, once we move into the 3rd beat of the bar, we're going to begin with a 16th note rest. So we're not going to play on the beat, we're going to come in just after the beat. And what we're going to do here is play an open G string. That gives us the 7th of the chord. And then we're going to rake backwards with whichever finger we use to play that G. And we're going to rake backwards to play 2 ghost notes, a ghost note on the D string and then a ghost note on the A string. So open G, ghost note on the D string, ghost note on the A string. Like that. And then to finish off this first bar, we're going to play this figure. This is just a hammer-on from the open D onto the E, and then we come down onto the C natural to end the bar. And it's worth playing that round a few times, just in free time, until you get comfortable with the finger movements and the rhythms. As you get comfortable with it, just begin cycling that bar round and round, just getting that to feel good on its own before you move on to the rest of the exercise. That bar is really important. Once you get that down, the rest of the exercise should fall into place reasonably easily. Okay, moving into the 2nd bar of the line, we're going to begin in a very similar way. This time, instead of playing those 2 A's on the top, we're going to play 2 open G's. So we go as far as the E, that's all the same as the first bar, and then we're going to play 2 open G's instead of those 2 A's. Really accenting the sound of that 7th at this point. Now, the 2nd of those G's that you just played, you can allow that to ring. If you look at the notation, you'll see that it's tied across into the beginning of the next beat. So we want that 2nd G to continue ringing. And then with that still ringing, we're going to move into the 3rd beat and then alternate between an F sharp, 4th fret of the D string, and that open G. And that's going to sound a little bit strange when we're playing it at a slow tempo here and really focusing on it, but once you get the line up to speed, it's going to sound really nice. Then once you've played that figure, You want your first finger on that F sharp really because of what we're going to do next. We're going to slide into the middle register of the bass. We're going to slide all the way up to the C sharp at the 11th fret of the D string. And then we're going to play the G octave note on the 12th fret of the G string. And what you want to happen here is you want the C sharp and the G to ring together briefly. Very dissonant sounding interval. That's a diminished fifth interval. But what we've got here is two very, very important chord tones. We've got the major third, the C sharp, and then we've got the minor seventh, the G. And what we're really getting here is this sound, dominant chord sound, that kind of chord voicing. So allow those notes to ring together briefly if you can. Okay, that gives us the first two bars of this line. Let's play them both together. Okay, moving into the rest of the exercise, bar 3 is going to be exactly the same as bar number 1. And then as we move into bar 4, we're going to be playing a fill. It's going to sound like this. Let's hear that again. And you can probably hear that open strings are being used quite extensively here. Open strings have been, of course, a big part of this line all the way through, and we're going to be maintaining that throughout this lick. So we're going to play an open A string to begin with, and then we're going to play, this is going to be two D sharps, 6th fret of the A string, and we're going to hammer on to the E, and that E is going to be the first note of beat number 2. That kind of thing. Now, once we're on that E, we're going to play an open D string, and then we're going to play a hammer on between the G and the A, 5th and 7th frets on the D string. That gives us the first two beats of this bar. We're then going to move into this figure. This is a figure that we've used before, but in the lower octave. This is a hammer on between the C and the C sharp, the minor third onto the major third. We're playing that an octave higher in this instance. We then play an open D string. And again, this is going to sound quite dissonant because we're doing this very slowly, but once you get this up to speed, it's all going to sound a lot more effective. So C to C sharp hammer on, open D string, and then we've got the F sharp to the G, also played as a hammer on. We then play the open D again, and then we finish off with another hammer on, C to C sharp again in the lower octave. As I said, when you get that going, it's going to sound really nice. Now, something interesting is happening with that final group of three notes. We've got the open D, and then we've got the C onto the C sharp. Now, what's actually happening here is it's something that's called an enclosure, and what we're doing is we're taking an important chord tone, in this instance the C sharp, the major third, and we're playing an enclosure around it. So an enclosure is where you play a note above a target note, then below, and then you hit your target note. So above, below, and then onto your target note. The target note is C sharp, the major third of the chord. And what we're doing here is we're playing a D, a C, and then we're reaching our target note. So above, below, target. We're using the open D instead of the fretted D, but I'm showing you the fretted one just to illustrate the concept. It's a really nice ingredient that you can put into your lines, works in any style, and it's quite an advanced melodic idea, but it's something that can really make your bass lines sound effective. Okay, so let's play this fill from the fourth bar. And again. Okay, so lots of open strings in there, and you'll need to play that through slowly and carefully to begin with in order to get that to sound as effective as it needs to once you get it up to speed. Okay, so that is it for bass lick number 2. Before we go, I just want to talk a little bit about tone. As usual, I'm using my GB Guitars Spitfire bass. This is a passive jazz style instrument. Volume, tone, single coil pickups. And what I've done for this line, because it's a funky fingerstyle kind of a sound that we're after, I've rolled off the neck pickup a little bit, so I'm using the bridge pickup, not entirely, I've still got a bit of neck pickup going on, just rolled it off a bit, and I've turned the tone control down quite a lot, just to take some of that top end sizzle out of the strings. These strings are reasonably new, so they're really quite bright, so don't want too much of that brightness in this kind of a sound, so I've just rolled the tone control down a little bit. If you can do something similar, it's going to give you a tone that works perfectly for this bass lick. Okay, that's it for Bass Lick of the Week number 2. Thanks for checking out the latest instalment in my Bass Lick of the Week series. If you'd like to download the PDF worksheet and audio files for this exercise, just click on the link in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to head over to basslinepublishing.com to check out my full range of bass guitar video courses. I'll see you next week for another bass groove.